Welcome back to Washington Journal. We're joined now by Representative Suhas Subramanyam. He's a Democrat of Virginia. He sits on the Oversight and Government Reform Committee and the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. Congressman, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
We'll just start with the Epstein file since you're on the Oversight Committee that oversees that. Republicans had always argued that this discharge petition was not necessary, that the committee was doing its job and was investigating the Epstein files. What was your response to that?
Well, I think they're right that the discharge petition wasn't necessary because we already have a subpoena to the Justice Department and the Trump administration asking them to release the files. So it makes no sense to me that Trump would actually advocate for this vote when the very vote is all about him taking an action to release the files. So I think he advocated for the vote because he didn't have the votes to oppose it anyway. But I know last week he was trying to prevent people from going forward with the discharge petition, and he failed. And then he decided if you can't beat him, join him. But all he has to do is release the files, and then this whole thing goes away, at least in terms of the transparency part of it.
Are you concerned at all about any obstruction or any partial release of the files?
Yeah, absolutely. We saw a tweet from Jeffrey Epstein's brother, it seems, basically saying that they're destroying files in Winchester, Virginia, which is close to my district, and we're trying to find out exactly where that is and what's going on there. We're also, just concerned generally about tampering with this administration. This whole thing is not just about the crimes that Epstein and Maxwell committed, it's also about the cover-up that happened in law enforcement and prosecutors everywhere across the board, all around the world. And so if there's more cover-up from this administration, which it appears like there is, we should be concerned and we should continue to be vigilant about getting the documents as soon as we can.
And I know you're relatively new to the House, but the argument that always comes up is, why didn't the Biden Justice Department release all these files when they had them?
Well, if you recall, first of all, there are many Democrats calling for more transparency back in 2019, including my colleague, Debbie Wasserman Schultz. But throughout the Biden administration, for most of it, they were going after Ghislaine Maxwell, right? And so it was difficult to release all the files if you're tipping her off or tipping her legal team off. And she was in appeals all the way until Trump came into office. But I do have questions for the DOJ, why they weren't more transparent. I think this has spanned multiple presidents and multiple administrations. And the obstruction and the lack of transparency and the cover-up, a lot of people are responsible for this, not just Donald Trump.
So what happens next in the House Oversight Committee? What are you guys going to be doing?
So we were able to push the chairman to issue a subpoena that he'd promised us to the banks. The victims had told us that we should follow the money and we should try to get documents from the banks. So Chairman Comer did a narrow subpoena of JP Morgan and Deutsche Bank, but there are 30 financial institutions that have the information that we need on Epstein and his financial dealings. That will tell a story because his financial dealings were very related to his crimes and his social circles. And then, of course, we're going to continue to push for the Justice Department to release the files. I think they're going to continue to come up with excuses or obstruct or cover up, but we're going to continue to be vigilant. One of the victims told me that they didn't think this would get this far. A lot of people didn't think it would get this far, but because of the bravery and the courage of the victims, we are here, and now they feel like they can do anything and they feel empowered. And so it's our job as an oversight committee to continue to empower the victims and make sure this type of cover-up and these types of crimes never happen again.
If you'd like to join a conversation with Representative Suhas Subramanyam, a Democrat of Virginia, you can start calling in now. He'll be with us until the House gavels in at 10 a.m. The lines are Democrats 202-748-8000, Republicans 202-748-8001, and Independents 202-748-8002. Congressman, you also sent, with fellow Democrats, you sent a letter to Andrew Windsor Mountbatten. He used to be referred to as Prince Andrew. He lost his title over his connections with Jeffrey Epstein. What were you looking for in that letter, and have you received a response?
Yeah, basically, he keeps coming up in all of the documents that we find. His name comes up over and over again, almost as much as Trump. And so I really want to know what he knows about Epstein's criminal enterprise. He's been very, very quiet about this whole thing. And I think one way that he can help both clear his name if that's what he's trying to do, and to help aid in our investigation is to come forward and tell us what he knows. And so certainly he knew Jeffrey Epstein. He shows up on the flight logs quite a bit. Seems he was quite close with him and Maxwell, and they met through Maxwell. And so, a lot of the one interview that people know of that he did in 2019, a lot of the things he said have been contradicted by the evidence. And so I'd want him to talk to us, and I want him to be under oath, or at least in some sort of setting where we know that he's being truthful. But in the end, I think the best way to understand Epstein's criminal enterprise is to talk to people who are intimately aware of it.
And you did mention that President Trump is mentioned in the Epstein files. Do you believe that he is implicated in any illegal behavior?
I mean, I have no idea. I want the evidence to do the talking. I'll say that he was clearly very close with Jeffrey Epstein and clearly had information about Epstein's, certainly his business dealings. President Trump claims that he didn't have any information or any sort of knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, but it seems like many of the documents, including some of the ones released recently, contradict that. And so, again, we've got people saying things, and then the documents are contradicting what they're saying. And so that's why I'm trying to find more documents with my colleagues, is because in the end, the evidence can do the most talking and give us the most accurate picture of what has happened and how we can prevent this in the future.